Community Improvement Plan Evaluation Committee. Call it in order at 4:03 on Wednesday, November the 3rd. First, I'm going to read the land acknowledgement statement for the town of Smiths Falls. On November the 3rd, 2021, we acknowledge that this sacred land on which Smiths Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution to the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smiths Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. Okay, approval of the agenda. Could I get someone to approve the agenda? Karen, and a seconder, please. Julia, thank you. All in favor? Okay, great, thank you. Adoption of the minutes, none. This is a special meeting that we're having today to discuss one topic. So we'll just move right ahead. Disclosure of monetary interest. Any disclosure of monetary interest? No, thank you. Priority issues. I'm going to hand this over to Mary to start us on our discussion. Mary, please. We can't hear you.
Thank you. I don't usually keep myself on mute. So this is an application under programs 3 and 4 to support the development of a 4-story, 28-unit apartment building at the corner of Chambers and Bay Streets. So this is intended to provide 28 affordable units to the downtown core of Smiths Falls. So just to reiterate, the development has already been reviewed by another committee of council, the Planning Advisory Committee, who's reviewed a minor variance as well as the site plan control application for the property. So a minor variance has been approved for the parking requirements. Typically need to be supplied at a ratio of 1.25 parking spaces per unit, and they've received a variance to allow parking at a ratio of one parking space per unit, and that's essentially to allow for more amenity and landscaping space. So then we've also reviewed the site plan control application. That one has not been approved yet, but just to advise the committee, we have reviewed the provisions of the CIP, and both applications are still eligible for funding, even though the minor variance has been approved and the site plan has been applied for. So the comments of the Planning Advisory Committee capture that this form of development is desirable and meets the strategic priorities of council. In terms of design, there were no concerns with the design from the standpoint of planning policies, particularly as it relates to it being within the vicinity of heritage properties, as well as just the neighborhood context. So generally, the committee was in support of this development. So this application requests 2 different prongs of funding. One is under program 3 to support the minor variance site plan and building permit applications. In accordance with policy, program 3 offers eligible applicants up to 75% of the costs associated with these forms of applications. So that means that the development would be eligible for $375 for the minor variance, $1,125 for the site plan application, and up to a maximum of $10,000 for the building permit application. So full funding eligibility amounts under program 3 would be $11,500. So I have provided a draft motion for the committee's consideration within my report. Further, the application also seeks funding under the tax increment grant program, which we've had fun with in the past. So at this time in the application process, the development will need to achieve in-principle approval before the project commences. This is in accordance with the provisions of the program of the CIP. The property is currently assessed as a vacant commercial at a value of $100,000. According to the application, there is an expectancy of up to 4.1 million in reassessment value of the property post-construction. That being said, there is no way to precisely project the financial contribution of the municipality. However, more accurate projections may be achieved if further review is taken place upon impact reassessment of the property post-construction. So staff are suggesting a more figure-based discussion occur upon impact reassessment and determination of tax classification. Staff have supplied the committee a draft motion, which may be modified to include duration or extent of the future contribution, however the committee seems fit. The in-principle motion should identify broad parameters which need to be met, while also having flexibility for final approval once a more figure-based discussion can occur. So generally, in conclusion, staff have reviewed the application and feel that this meets planning policy, as well as the strategic priorities of council and the downtown core design guidelines. You're on mute, Irv.
Sorry about that. Before we go on to discuss program 3, how much do we have in funds left over in our budget?
Just over 19,000.
So we do have enough to approve the complete 11.5 if we wish to do that.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay, I'll open it up for discussion. Where do we want to go with this? Julia.
I guess I'll start it off. I'm in support of this program. I think, you know, it's an affordable housing project, which is something that's within our strategic plan and something the community needs. So just based on those simple facts and the facts that we're getting more residential occupancy within the downtown, I think is also really important. So I'm in support of both applications.
Okay. Thank you. Karen?
Yeah, I agree with Julia. I think it's much needed for our community, the affordable housing. And I think that it fits in with what's already in that neighborhood. There's already residential properties around there. And it is close to all the amenities. So I do support both applications, just like Julia.
Okay, thank you. Dorothy?
And so do I. I agree with Julia and Karen, and I also think it's going to be really nice to see something in that space. It's been a vacant lot for way too long.
Exactly.
It'll look much better with a building on it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so we have a motion here that the CIP hereby supports funding the 44th Chambers Street Community Improvement Plan application through Program 3, planning fees and planning permit grant program to a maximum of $1,500 for planning fees associated with minor variance and site planning control fees, and to a maximum of $10,000 for building permit fees associated with the building permit application. So I agree with this motion also. If I could have someone just maybe place this motion forward, then we can get a seconder and vote on it. Karen, thank you. A seconder. Julia, well, maybe I'll go the seconder as Dorothy, please. And all in favor of the application for program 3? Thank you very much. So that one is passed. Program 4, the tax abatement program. I know we've had issues with the program 4 for the Rideau Hotel, and a lot of discussion going on that, and we're still waiting for additional information from town staff to present to our committee to make a decision on that. But let's open it up for discussion. Mary has suggested a motion here also, but maybe I'll just open it up for discussion and just see where we go. Julia, I'm sure you've got something there.
Sure, I'll start it off. Why not?
Okay.
Again, being an affordable housing initiative, and I believe the proponent is a not-for-profit organization who's doing it. So I think it's different from the Rideau Hotel. And again, in order for developments like these to be affordable and sustainable long-term, they do need funding. So I think a tax increment grant will help assist with those costs and keeping it affordable in the long term.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Anyone else? Karen?
Yeah, I agree with Julia, and I it's a sizable investment in our community as well. So, and I do like the part in the motion that as long as it's classified as affordable housing, I think that's an important part of that as well. So I'm in support of it for sure.
Okay, perfect. Dorothy?
Me too. I'm in support as well. I have nothing
Okay.
to go really.
Okay, are we comfortable with the motion that Mary has suggested here? And Mary, you had indicated that we might want to add something or look at something additional to the motion. Do you want to go over that for a minute?
Sure, so I can just speak to it real quick. So as you may recall, when we did the in-principle motion for Hotel Rideau, it spoke to duration and extent. So specifically, we noted that we would fund a full duration of 10 years and that the extent of the funding would essentially phase down over the 10-year period. So I note just from discussions with committee members that there was a little bit of concern that we may be committing a future council to this funding agreement. I didn't include any conditions regarding the extent or nature of any future final approval because I wanted to allow some flexibility in the motion once we had that assessment back. So if the committee would like to add it, they're welcome to. Otherwise, I presented what I did because I felt that it offered what the committee wanted to see in the previous TIG application, which was waiting for MPAC, as well as everyone's position for this to maintain affordable units for the duration of the contribution agreement. But it's up to the committee whether or not they want to include an extent or time frame for funding. I just felt that without it, it would allow more flexibility for a future council.
Okay, I wish the two Chris's were here because I'm sure they would have something to say about all of this. And we still haven't decided on program for the Rideau Hotel. And I know this is a different situation, but okay. Do we think we want to add a time frame, Karen?
Yeah, I was gonna, say that I agree with Mary, leaving it kind of open because I find from our discussions about Hotel Rideau, the program's very cumbersome and complicated. And I think if we put that kind of condition on it, it doesn't allow for flexibility down the road. When the next council comes in and the next committee comes in, it allows them a little bit more again, flexibility to be able to make the decisions on the funding that suits once the MPAC assessment comes back in.
Perfect. Julia, what do you think?
I read that as well. I think within the program guidelines, it says we have to fund for 10 years currently. It's what percentage for those 10 years has to. I think logically, I just go to a decrease of 10% over 10 years, 100 to 0 is 10% over 10 years. So that's kind of, if we were to put something on in terms of timelines or what the deduction would be every year, that's kind of where I would lean to. But I think Mary's right, leaving it open until we have a better understanding of the assessment and when the project is actually done and getting into a new council, they may feel very differently. So it will be, their I'm trying to find the word.
Their decision on where we should go.
Exactly. It will be their opportunity to make a decision on how they want to move forward.
Exactly. Dorothy?
So are we in the position of approving it in principle as we did for the Hotel Rideau?
I think we are. I think Mary's motion kind of outlines it in general terms and general enough that we aren't really putting a stamp of approval for a future council on it. They can debate it and decide what they want to do and for the term that they want to do it. So I think it's open enough that we give them some leeway.
Okay, that's good with me.
Okay, can I get someone to bring this motion forward, number 2021 draft? Okay, can I get Julia to make the motion forward and Karen to second it? All in favor? Okay, thank you very much. All right. We completed that fairly quickly. I do really wish that the two Chris's were here because they have very dynamic viewpoints on taxation and where we should go with it. But I think we left it general enough that they will agree with this, and we can move it to a future council and a future CIP committee also. So, okay, thank you. Next meeting is next Wednesday, a week from today, 4 o'clock. And I guess I'll see you all then. And I'm going to hope that it goes just as quickly. Mary, you have something to add?
I just wanted to ask everyone who's present that if you can't attend next week's meeting, just to make sure that I know. Unfortunately, I can't search my email, so I may have lost that. So if something happens that you can't make next week's meeting, just notify me. Yes, I have you
Karen?
written down, Karen.
Okay, great. I won't be there. I was tentative, but I won't be able to make it. Sorry.
No problem. So yeah, just let me know if something happens that you can't make it. I do need to confirm quorum in advance. So if I don't have confirmed quorum, I will need to cancel the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I'll just do a quick roundtable. Dorothy, would you like to add anything, or you were okay?
No.
Okay, thank you. Julia, anything to add today? Nope. Okay. Karen, besides the fact that you're not going to be here next week, is there anything to add?
I just wanted to say that I do think without the Chris's here, there was maybe some discussion that could have been had, but I do believe that they would both have been in support of the application. That's I know that they are huge supporters of affordable housing in the community. So just wanted to mention that.
Perfect. Thank you. Mary, anything to add? Nope. Okay, then I am going to call the end of today's meeting at 4:21. That's got to be a record. Has to be a record. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, and I hope to see most of you next week on Wednesday. Thank you. Bye-bye.